I'm Neil Hagan. I was born in 1933 in the midst of the Great Depression. I think my personality, when I think about it, is probably jovial. I enjoy telling jokes. I enjoy laughing and having a good time with other people. And I'm probably an A personality. I've been married for 56 years. 56 very beautiful years, in which I've had a wonderful wife and two wonderful children, and it's been a very progressive, step-by-step process towards the future. I have three grandchildren. One of them is 20 years old and is a senior at Youngstown University. I have two other ones that are in a Catholic school, high school here. Both one named Chad and the other named Carl. Both of these boys are very heavily involved in sports and are also very good academically. When I was younger and going to high school, I played basketball, baseball, and softball. I would have played football, but our high school was small enough that we couldn't field a football team. So those three sports were the major sports for the high school I attended, which was Somerset Township High School in southeastern Ohio. You know, I've got a lot of activities I like. I like to do many things, but probably my favorite activity as I grew older is golf. I love to golf, and if I had to, I would love to spend every moment. I'm also like to fish, and if I could get back to doing that for some time, I would do that also. In my collegiate career, I attended for 2 years General Motors Institute of Technology in Flint, Michigan, and then finished up going to local schools here and at Youngstown University, where I graduated. I have a degree in business administration, but I trained as an engineer, and all my training and work was as an engineer at General Motors. After working for 40 years at General Motors, I retired and opened my own business. I became a manufacturer's representative, and for 10 years I serviced all of the automotive trade in wiring and automotive wire. I was in the National Guard, the High National Guard, for 4 years. And part of that time was I met my wife during that time, and as we dated for some length of time, we set our marriage date. And because the draft was in effect at that point, I wound up being drafted 2 days before we were to be married. And since I had some rank in the National Guard as a sergeant, I went down and enlisted, which allowed us to postpone the induction date for my military service onto the 2 weeks after the wedding. So we managed to manage that just very, very close. It was a close. My poor wife was almost ready to collapse by the time we got this finished. While I was in the Army, I was stationed in Germany. I was a medic. And the place I was stationed at was on Siglerhof in western Germany, and we ran a hospital train which went down and picked up patients all over Europe, even down into Italy. And we down through the Brenner Pass into Italy, picked up patients in Naples. I remember one time we picked up a patient in Naples, and he had been listed as a schizophrenic. Now, at that point back then, the Army had a discharge clause which is called Section 8. If you could prove you were crazy, then you were discharged with no bad discount or no bad discharge of any type. You were simply listed as a not fit for the service, discharged. We picked up this individual in Naples, and for 4 days I talked to him on the way back to the main hospital in Germany, and all I got from him was just plain ordinary talk as if he was an individual very brilliant. And finally, on the 4th day, as we were approaching the hospital he was supposed to be discharged to, I said to him, "You're shooting for a Section 8, aren't you?" And he said, "No, I'm not." And I said, "Yes, you are. I've talked to you for 4 days. You're as sane as I am." And he said, "No, no." Now, this was in 1958, and at the time that the Russians had put up their first satellite. And he turned to me and he said, "I'll tell you what happened." He said, "I went to the moon." And I said, "What?" He said, "I went to the moon." And he proceeded to tell me about everything on the moon, how he got to the moon, who he went to the moon with. Well, by the time we got to the hospital and discharged, he had me believing he went to the moon. That's one of the things I could tell you about. There were many instances when we had probably the craziest day. If you ever watched MASH, that was very close to what our outfit was like in Germany. It was a medic outfit, and we'd get parade notifications where a vice president was coming in or something like that, or a general was going to be at the post, and everybody was supposed to go out and march in parade, except the medics. And we never marched. They didn't want to see any two of us try to get together because we couldn't march. There is a quote that I like to stand by. I've stood by it for a long time. It's called, "To thy own self be true." Because if you can be true to yourself and be honest and true to yourself, then be true and a good friend to others at the same time. I've had a lot of heroes in the time that I've been going through this vale of tears. But probably the greatest hero I ever had, and the greatest one I respected the most, was General Eisenhower. General Eisenhower successfully fought the Nazis into a stop and won the Second World War practically on his own. Then he became President of the United States, and a period of prosperity and peace followed. And it's enough for anyone to respect that kind of an individual. You know, when you work at places like General Motors, you expect some challenges and you expect some times where you have some real problems. I at one time had charge of the fusible link which went into the fuse circuits in the General Motors vehicles. I received a call one day saying that we were almost prepared for a callback because the fusible links were not working and cars were starting to burn up. A callback can cause millions of dollars of problems. I immediately started a whole series of testing and could find nothing wrong with the fusible link no matter what we tried. After further testing, both at here and at Chevrolet, we finally found that the trouble was not there, but in the overloaded circuits that had happened at Chevrolet. It was a very meaningful time for me because it worried me to the point where I thought if I did not prove that I was successful in this point, I would probably be discharged. You know, if I could change some things in the world, I'd love to do it, but probably the most thing I'd love to change the most would be poverty. If we could eliminate poverty, we can eliminate wars. We can eliminate people suffering day by day because there's not enough to eat, no place to live, and squalor. So if I can eliminate poverty, I think that's the greatest thing that can be done. I have lived a long life here, as you can see, and a lot of people think they know me very well, but there's some things they probably don't know about me. I, for instance, sing. I'm told I have a very good voice, and at one point I sang for weddings across the state. At another point, I was a cantor in our church. I also play about 5 different instruments. I play the trumpet, I play the organ, somewhat on the piano, I play the guitar, I play the harmonica, I play banjo. As you look back on the 70 or so years I've been around and so on and so forth, and I look around and I see many things that happened to me and what many things I've done. Probably my greatest achievement was my family. Without my family, I would have been nothing. Without the love and respect of my wife and my children, I still would have been nothing. And when you reach the point where you retired and are looking back on all the things you've done, your family becomes the paramount reason for living.
And after the interview I had with Neil Hagan, the final question was asked. In one word, describe yourself.
I'm handsome.